Oh, side note, Rey's Jedi training, I thought it was honestly amazing. When she was going through the obstacle course, I guess that's what it was, honestly it just felt like she was being a ninja a little bit. It kind of reminded me of some scenes of Naruto, and it was funny, and I don't know, I guess a lot of you guys complain about the fact that she had no training and that she was way too powerful for someone who had no training. I mean, we never felt that way about it because, I mean, she never felt too powerful for me. Kylo Ren always felt way more powerful than her because clearly he had training.
When they fight, you can clearly see that he's gaining up on her.
Exactly. But I guess the fact that we kind of see her training in this movie kind of calms things down a little bit.
And we had seen her train before, just not in the way they wanted, but I guess.
Yeah. What else do you want to talk about?
We see that we have we have Finn,
right,
who's a former stormtrooper who didn't want to be a stormtrooper.
Right.
And in this movie, we're introduced to even more stormtroopers who were not okay with what they were doing, especially because a lot of them were slaves and were brought there to do stuff they didn't actually want to do, right?
Yeah, either that or get killed.
Exactly. But some of them escape, right? And in the end of the movie, just all of them get killed. We have this knowledge that there's probably way more of them that are kids who were stolen and taken from their families, and none of them gives a rat's ass whether there's more stormtroopers to be saved or not, and everyone just gets killed.
What kind of pissed me off about this is that, but more than that, is the fact that stormtroopers are very confusing in this movie. We see that they don't want, some of them don't want to do the bad things that the Empire makes them do, and yet throughout this movie Finn just kind of becomes, I wouldn't say addicted, but he enjoys killing them.
It was just
like super excited about landing a shot on them, and I was like, what the hell are you doing?
We even get a guy that is way above stormtroopers, that is a spy.
Yeah.
And still none of them get redeemed, none of them get saved, everyone just gets murdered.
Yeah. And it also kind of raised the question, are stormtroopers bad at aiming because they deep down don't want to kill people? Right? Is that what's happening? Because at times, even if you don't see it in the Star Wars movies, you see in the animated series that stormtroopers can actually have good aim and that they can kill people. But then other times, it's like they fail on purpose. So is this why they fail?
Could be.
Because they are good people and they're being forced to do something that they don't want to, so they just simply do it wrong?
That's a good theory.
Right?
That's a good theory.
So, I don't know how you guys felt about this, and maybe you'll agree with me, but Rose, in this episode, I was like, wait, what the hell is happening? Because, here's the thing, she got basically no screen time whatsoever.
She basically didn't even need to be there.
Yeah.
And that's an issue. She could have done a buttload of stuff that they gave to like Finn or Poe.
Exactly.
For example, we see in The Last Jedi, we're told that she's a mechanic, and there's a lot of mechanic stuff that they do that are given to Finn, and we have Poe asking like, how can you do this? And instead of using Rose, we just have like these loose threads with them.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. Why didn't they use her?
It just feels to me like in The Last Jedi, they brought her in to be a love interest, and then when it didn't work because fans didn't like her and they were being mean to her online.
But she was still a love interest in this one.
But then in this one, she was kind of still a love interest, but just didn't show up basically. So that was what kind of upset me.
Because the few scenes that we actually have of her, she's saying one line that could have been said by anyone else.
Literally, yeah.
Or we have Finn looking at her from afar.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, was all over the place with literally everyone. He just had one love interest, another love interest, and you get another love interest. Woo!
Oh my god. Speaking of love interest, what also kind of upsetted me about this movie was we get two new female characters that were very well advertised when they were cast. And basically they're just in this movie to be love interests to Finn and Poe because Disney doesn't want them to be together, even though a lot of you guys are shipping them. And myself as well. But here's the thing, these two characters are just here with that sole purpose.
Basically.
And to me, that just feels super unnecessary. If you're gonna bring talented actresses to just show up barely...
It's not even about being talented actresses. It's about them just literally pushing something against us that was completely unnecessary. For example, we could have... Because the character that's brought in to be Poe's love interest, she has a point. They use her, like they need her to get around whatever village they were in, and then they need to get out of it, and they kind of also use her because she has the chip, whatever. And that's fine. And we could have done the whole scene, all the moments with her, we could have done without the weird forced tension between Finn and Poe, who, by the way, you can clearly tell Poe or Oscar Isaac is forcing it.
Yeah.
While the scenes between him and Finn come out supernatural, the scene of him like asking for a kiss, so freaking forced. Right, Kitty? I know. I know.
And let's just talk about that for a second. To me, the new female character that was basically there to be Finn's love interest. I mean, what the hell was happening? She just met him, and yet she was risking her life completely unnecessarily to do stuff for him. I mean, that was like so stupid and so random. And worst of all, the other new female character had basically no screen time, as you could clearly tell. She was there to be Poe's love interest, and she had a mask the whole time. And you know what pisses me off the most? The fact that under that mask was a beautiful and talented actress, Carrie Russell. I mean, you get someone like her in Star Wars, and you don't use her?
It's
No, something worse than that is that when she opens her mask, you see a string of hair falling off, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? When you have that mask on, do you have hair all over your face? Because how can you even fight like that?
Like, you never see the Stormtroopers take their masks out.
Yeah.
But we obviously need that scene, that beautiful love scene between them.
Where they look each other in the eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Makes no sense.
I mean, but as you were saying, it would be like that, having that actress in Star Wars and not using her would be like having Brie Larson in Endgame for 5 minutes.
Remember that scene when Rey was talking to a kid in that festival and the kid was introducing herself?
Yes.
And then Rey did the same thing and the kid was like, but what's your last name?
I don't hate the ending, but I also would have preferred if she had just said just Rey.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Like, it was amazing. The ending to me was really good. A little bit like
bittersweet.
Bittersweet, exactly. But then, you know, she already knows who her family is, and she's like, "Oh, I'm Rey Skywalker."
Also, is that a thing that people actually do in the Star Wars universe? Like in their galaxy, that you just go around being like, "Oh, you just told me your first name, but what is your last name?"
Oh no, usually
no one
doesn't
does
happen.
that.
They're just doing it in this trilogy because like, oh, who the hell is Rey? Why is she so powerful? The ending was good, but the fact that she calls herself Rey Skywalker, to me, was terrible. Because, like, fine, she doesn't want to be a Palpatine.
Which is a good thing.
Which, I mean, yeah, whatever. She doesn't want to be a Palpatine, and I completely understand why. But does she have to call herself a Skywalker? I disagree. She doesn't have to.
She was approved.
it's fine, well, whatever, she was approved, but she doesn't have to be a Skywalker, she can just be Rey, she can just be her own person, she doesn't have to be someone else, she doesn't have to be a Skywalker or a Palpatine, she can just be Rey.
And I completely agree with that, but I also agree with her, technically. I'm very torn on that ending scene, because...
You're just saying that because you really love the fact that Leia was the one that trained her.
No, I'm related to that, because technically Leia's last name isn't even Skywalker.
It's Organa.
She's either Organa or Solo. Would she have taken Solo's name? Of course not, she's too strong for that. But the point is, like, everyone keeps telling her who she is, and she makes a comment about that in the middle of the movie against to Finn, when she's like, no one knows who I am.
Yeah.
Basically, probably at that point, neither did she.
Yeah.
And then in the end, she takes that back. She's the only person who can tell the world who she really is. And she can be Rey, sure, but she chooses to belong to something, which isn't bad. As someone like her, who's been alone her whole life, taking back something to herself is actually quite powerful. She wants to be somewhere. She wants to belong to something, and you cannot kill a Skywalker.
I'm not saying I don't understand it, I'm just saying that I personally didn't enjoy it.
I'm explaining why I'm torn.
Right.
And in my mind, it works. To me, it works. I like it. I'm okay with it. I would have preferred if she had said just Rey, because girl power, Rey power. But she's saying Rey Skywalker also works to me.
Well, let's just agree to disagree, I guess.
I guess. So the most important subject to me, the thing that really stood out, like, to me overall, the movie is incredibly flawed. There's a lot of flaws in it. However, overall I enjoyed it. However, there's a lot of flaws. But one of the things that I think they completely nailed was Rey as a character. Like, the whole of Rey. Every interaction Rey has, every moment she speaks, every moment she moves, every moment Daisy Ridley just brings the character to life was perfect.
Honestly, I think Daisy Ridley is such an amazing actress. I've never seen her in anything other than in Star Wars.
Didn't know she existed.
But she just brings Rey to a whole new level. And honestly, her face is so expressive in every single scene. And let's just talk about her hand acting for a little bit. Her hand acting in this movie was brilliant.
Great.
Honestly, it kind of reminded me of Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange. It was that good. I'm not even kidding.
Nice.
It was just really good.
As a face, I think they really used that very well. I think they realized, okay, this girl knows what she's doing, and she has a lot of close-up shots of just her face.
Does, yeah.
They used it really well, and she acted really well in them. It was great.
But not just her as her own character, which was amazing, but her with Kylo Ren. I wasn't a very big Kylo Ren fan up until this movie, but he did grow on me in this one.
Slightly.
He really grew on me in this one.
Slightly.
But he really grew on me in this one, and their connection, I thought it was amazing. The scenes when they're in two separate places, but because of the Force connection, they can transfer things from one place to another. I thought it was brilliant. And the fact that that comes back again in the ending, when he's fighting the Knights of Ren, and he has no weapon with him, and Rey just gives him a lightsaber, I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was really good.
That scene
was so freaking
really,
good.
really
Yeah.
good. And they kind of fight side by side. And it's kind of an interesting reminiscence to that amazing scene
In
from The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
But different, but it's like it gives it an original take.
Yeah,
it was
it does.
one of the few scenes, like cinematography, that very much worked.